Welcome back to Midnight Signal AI. It's May 25th, 2026, and today's episode is packed. We've got fresh signals around Anthropic's Claude Mythos, xAI's Grok build, Google pushing Gemini agents into new territory, and a handful of enterprise and infrastructure stories that show where the market is actually moving.
And the common thread today is pretty clear. This isn't just about model quality anymore. It's about release timing, developer access, infrastructure, and whether these systems are becoming more useful in real workflows or just more impressive in demos.
Exactly. We'll start with Anthropic because the Claude Mythos chatter is the biggest headline in the feed today. Then we'll move through xAI, Google, and the rest of the stack.
Let's get into it.
Anthropic is the lead story here, with Tech Times reporting that the company is moving closer to a public Claude Mythos release after finding 10,000 critical bugs first. That's a huge number to absorb, even if the exact details are still murky.
If that bug figure is accurate, it says Anthropic is treating this like a real frontier launch, not a marketing event. And honestly, that matters more than a flashy teaser. A model can be powerful, but if the company doesn't trust it in the wild, developers won't either.
And Mint adds another layer, saying leaked code suggests Mythos preparation could mean the launch is sooner than people think. So now you have two signals at once, internal cleanup on one hand and outward-facing launch prep on the other.
That combination is what makes this interesting. Companies usually don't leak this kind of readiness unless something is close, but it also raises the bar because once a rumored model becomes a real product, people stop talking about possibility and start comparing it directly against GPT and Gemini.
India Today reported the third Claude-related item, saying Mythos allegedly surfaced on Claude Code the day after Anthropic denied public release plans. That denial versus citing tension is classic frontier model theater, but it also tells us the ecosystem is watching every breadcrumb.
The key question is whether Mythos is a new model, a codename, or just a packaging layer around something Anthropic has already been iterating on. Either way, the market will read it as a competitive move because Claude has to keep pace with rapid releases from OpenAI and Google.
Switching gears to xAI, Memeburn says xAI launched Grok Build, aimed at developers and crypto builders. That's a notable positioning choice because it's not just about general chat anymore. It's about trying to own a builder community.
That makes sense for xAI because Grok has always had a distinct voice and a more aggressive brand identity. But developer adoption is a different game. Developers care about docs, stability, rate limits, and whether the platform actually saves time.
And if xAI is leaning into crypto builders specifically, that suggests it's looking for communities that move fast and are willing to experiment. The upside is quick adoption. The downside is that these users are also quick to call out weak tooling.
Right, and that can be a double-edged sword. If Grok Build lands, it could give xAI a real foothold in the developer conversation. If it doesn't, it becomes another announcement that looks bigger on launch day than it does 2 weeks later.
On Google's side, Bhaskar English reports that Gemini agents are pushing into a new front, with AI that can work for you even on switched-off phones. That sounds like a bold claim, but the strategic point is obvious. Google wants Gemini to feel ambient, not just app-based.
That's a big shift because it moves the conversation from prompts to delegation. If a phone can keep doing useful work after the screen is off, that changes how people think about assistance. It also raises a lot of obvious questions about permissions, battery, and transparency.
PCMag also has a practical angle on Google's Gemini AI plan, saying the reviewer paid for it and found 5 features that justify the price. That's useful because it pushes the story out of abstract capability and into actual consumer value.
Exactly. A lot of AI products sound great until you ask, would I actually pay for this every month? Reviews like that matter because they translate model capability into buyer behavior, and that's where the market gets real.
Let's move to infrastructure. CryptoNews.net says B.AI is enhancing DeepSeek v4 infrastructure for crypto and AI workloads. That's not as flashy as a frontier model launch, but it's the kind of plumbing story that often decides who can actually use a model at scale.
This is the kind of story people skip, and then 6 months later, it turns out to have been the important one. If the infrastructure gets better, the model gets more usable, and that can matter more than a headline benchmark.
Finextra Research reports that TD is building an AI model to speed up mortgage applications. That's a very different use case, but it shows how banks are moving from generic AI experimentation into specific operational bottlenecks.
And finance is one of the best places to watch AI adoption because the incentives are so concrete. If a model can shave time off mortgage processing without creating risk, that's immediately valuable. But the standards for reliability are obviously much higher than in consumer chat.
Yahoo has a major XAI-related story too. The NAACP is suing Elon Musk's XAI, saying the data center's gas turbines put communities at risk. This is a reminder that AI expansion isn't just a software story, it's an energy and environmental story too.
This is a really important counterweight to all the product news. Every new model and every new agent needs compute, and compute has a footprint. If communities push back, that affects where and how fast these systems scale.
Finally, there's a broader leadership angle. MSN reports on Sundar Pichai saying graduates will shape AI's future and live with its consequences, while another MSN item says Jensen Huang delivered big news to shareholders that could influence how people think about NVIDIA right now.
That's a good place to end because it ties together the whole episode. Models, tools, infrastructure, and the people steering them. Whether it's Anthropic trying to get Claude Mythos ready, XAI pushing Grok build, or Google expanding Gemini's agent reach, the competition is increasingly about who can make AI useful, trusted, and scalable at the same time.
That's our rundown for today on Midnight Signal AI. We'll keep watching the Claude Mythos signals, the developer reaction to Grok build, and whether Google's agent push turns into real everyday utility. Thanks for listening and stay sharp out there.
If you're tracking this space closely, the next few days should tell us a lot about which of these stories are real momentum and which are just the first wave of hype.
Until next time, keep building, keep questioning.